40 times is used, this idea of scarlet is used in connection with the tabernacle. Now we know that the tabernacle is a representation of Jesus. Anytime you've ever been in a study of the tabernacle, all the different pieces, all the colors, all the coverings, all the pieces, the entire thing, all the furniture, everything points to the Lord Jesus. Well, part of what pointed to is the scarlet color, the scarlet that they used. And here's the interesting thing. When he said, I am a worm, it mentioned that it was a scarlet worm. Well, when it talks about the scarlet color of stuff that they brought in, that word scarlet, it's the same word. It's the exact same word. The worm excretes this coloring, this scarlet color, and it's so intertwined with that color. When they use the word in the Bible to describe this scarlet material that they brought in, it's the exact same word. And so Isaiah 1:18 says it this way, come now, let us reason together, saith the Lord, though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow, though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. It says red like crimson. The word crimson there again, it's the same word that Jesus used when he said, I am a worm. So what a remnant, huh? But you see something underneath that word. All right, so that was worms. Today we got something else on the docket. Today we have bears. We're going from worms, the little bitty things, to bears, big things, bears. All right, so, and it was kind of a challenge to me to determine or divine or decide exactly how to lay this topic out. Every time the word bear comes up, it refers to the savagery and the brutality and the fierceness of this animal. So we're going to divide the lesson up into two parts. The first part will be the types. We'll talk about some types of bears and some little things about each of these types of bears, and then we'll get into the terror of these bears. So first off, the types, and there's many types of bears. There's a whole pile of them, a whole pile of types. We'll look at a few of them. First off, we'll look at the black or brown bears. That's the ones we would know because the black and brown bears, they live in America generally. The black bear is a large and stocky bear with a short tail. I don't know why the short tail is so important, but every time they talk about a bear, they talk about it having a short tail. But they're big. The adults range from 4.3 to 6.2 feet in length, and they weigh somewhere between 132 and 661 pounds. There's some big boys. The largest males can grow to 6.5 feet, 900 pounds. There's some big bears. These black or brown bears, they're huge, big, and formidable. You don't want to meet one in a dark alley. They are big. Now, though classified as carnivores, in other words, they like to eat meat, black bears have an omnivorous, they eat anything, diet. In spring, they consume emerging plants and carcasses of animals that died during the winter. Fruits dominate the diet in summer, both fruit and some type of meat, especially acorns and beech nuts, constitute most of the fall diet. As I was reading about these things, they eat about anything. Anything that's up for grabs, they eat it. That's why they have this omnivorous description. And of course, they also hibernate for several months during the winter time. So there's the black or the brown bears. They're big. You don't get nothing else out of that. Get the idea these are big boys. All right, so the black and brown bears, they're big. Second off, the polar bears. We all know about polar bears. Those are the white bears, usually in the Arctic. The male, which is much larger than the female, weighs an astounding 900 to 1,600 pounds. They are really big. If the brown and black bears are big, these guys are huge. So they're really large. The polar bear is the largest and most powerful carnivore on land, a title it shares with a subspecies of brown bears called the Kodiak bear. It has no natural predators. Get that, it has no natural predators. No one will go after them because they're too big. No natural predators, and knows no fear of humans, making it an extremely dangerous animal. Many of the animals, when they see humans, they go the other way. The only time they strike out is when we force them to and put them in a corner. But most of them, go the other way. Snakes, all the other type of critters, that they run from us, but not these bears. These bears are fearless, big and fearless. Polar bears are solitary and overwhelmingly carnivorous, feeding especially on ringed seal, but also on the bearded seal. You didn't know that. You learned something. See, a ringed seal and a bearded seal. A bearded seal because they got a little beard, believe it or not, and other pinnipeds. The bear stalks seals resting in the ice, ambushes them near the breathing holes, and digs young seals from the snow shelters where they are born. These guys are big, and they're ferocious. So that's the black and brown bear, the polar bears. How about this one? We all know this one, the panda bear. The panda bear. Now, these are the cuter black and white bears, mostly live in China. And they're kind of cute. In fact, a lot of children, when they grow up, sometimes they'll have little dolls. And one of the things they might have is they might have a bear. And one of the bears that they probably would have is one of these panda bears because they're just so cute. The panda bear is a large mammal native to central China. These bears are also known as giant pandas or simply pandas, though they famously dine on bamboo. Pandas are bears, and scientists still classify them as carnivores. So they eat a lot of bamboo. That's important. We'll talk about that in a minute. While they will occasionally feed on eggs, rodents, and birds, over 99% of the bear's diet comes from bamboo plants. So they eat a lot of bamboo. Now, pandas are probably the most easily recognized bear in the world. Their fur is starkly contrasting patches of black and white. And the black ears and black eye patches, their legs, shoulders, and tails also are black. The rest of the body is white. So those white and black panda bears, they're cute. So they are moderately, they call them moderately large bears. Males can weigh up to 350 pounds. That's a moderately large. That sounds like a big boy to me, but okay. So they can be pretty big. Now here's an interesting fact about these particular bears: bamboo. Everyone knows that pandas eat bamboo. Now I don't know if everybody knows that, but you know that now because I told you. In fact, in a single day, a panda can eat between 20 and 30 pounds of bamboo. Though they will sometimes feed on small mammals and other protein sources, 99% of their diet consists of bamboo. However, these bears are not built for this type of lifestyle, this lifestyle of eating bamboo. They don't have, it's not natural for them to process this bamboo. It's a bad diet for them. In fact, pandas have the digestive system of a carnivore and cannot properly digest bamboo, so they can't really eat bamboo and digest it properly. Their main diet does not provide them with very much energy or protein. The only reason that they can digest the bamboo in the first place is because they have a special bacteria in their digestive system that helps them digest it. Now, science, falsely so-called, would call this part of evolution. I'd say God had a masterful plan for the panda's diet. That allowed them to have this in their digestive system that could take care of this bamboo that they eat. So these are some bears: the black and brown bears, the polar bears, the panda bears. The next one we'll talk about, and this is where we get closer to the Bible, the Syrian bear. The Syrian bear. The Syrian bear is a relatively small subspecies of the brown bear, native to the Middle East and to the Caucasus mountain range. The Syrian bear is the bear mentioned in the Bible. So when you come across the word bear, and it's not talking about bearing one another's, whatever, how's it say it? Burdens. Bear one another's burdens. When it's talking about an animal, the bear, it's talking about a Syrian bear. And it says it's the only bear in the world to have white claws. I'm not sure if that's real important, but they have white claws. Is rather small brown bear. Now they call it a small. Keep that in mind. They have a small brown bear. Adult males have skulls measuring 12 to 16 inches. The Syrian bear weighs up to, it's a small bear, only 550 pounds. That sounds like pretty big to me. 550 pounds, just a smaller bear. Now, to get the idea, I was thinking how to illustrate a 550-pound bear. And again, the people that write this stuff about these, they say that's a small bear. Doesn't sound small to me. The Mastiffs, those are gigantic dogs. They generally weigh between 90 to 140 pounds. The small bear, the little Syrian bear, 550. The Great Dane, you know the big Great Dane dogs? Adults weigh between 140 and 170 pounds. That little Syrian bear, 550 pounds. Sounds big. St. Bernards, the adults can range between 140 and 180 pounds. Big dogs. But the little Syrian bear is 550 pounds. So while this little Syrian bear may be relatively small compared to other bears in the world, after all, we mentioned polar bears can be up to 1,600 pounds. So it may be little compared to other bears in the world. They're not really small. 550 pounds. They're some big boys. So, and again, when you read about an animal or a bear in the Bible, it's the Syrian bear. That's what it's talking about. All right, so that's the types. Second off, terror. As we review Scripture in relation to bears, all of the bears in the Bible are the Syrian bear, and though they may be small compared to other bears, they ain't small. They're rather large compared to humans. And they are known to be especially vicious and cruel and savage beasts, especially when it comes to protecting their young. And we can see this in the Bible. So our first point under this will be vicious, and we'll try to finish this point. We'll have to have a second part about bears next time we meet, but we'll talk about this idea about being vicious. Several times the Bible provides statements referring to this viciousness of especially mama bear. So first off, judgment of God upon Israel. That's in Hosea 13. If you're in Hosea 13, we finally got to where we're going here. Hosea 13 and verse 4, Yet I am the Lord thy God from the land of Egypt, and thou shalt know no God but me, for there is no Savior beside me. God's telling them, I'm your God, ain't nobody else there. Verse 7 says, Therefore I will be unto them as a lion, as a leopard, by the way will I observe them. What he's telling them is he's telling them because they left him behind. Now he said, I'm the only God you have to do with, and yet they went off seeking after other idols and other so-called gods, and God's angry with them. It says, Therefore will I be unto them as a lion, as a leopard, by the way will I observe them. I will meet them as a bear that is bereaved of her whelps. The mama bear that somebody took her babies from her. Bereaved of her whelps, and will rend the call of their heart. In other words, rip your heart out. That's what this bear would do, this mama bear that goes after anybody that she thinks is a danger to her cubs or have taken their cubs. She's going to rip their heart out. Vicious. You get the idea? But God says that's how he was going to be towards Israel because they left him behind. Here's what Dr. Barnes had to say about it, kind of a historical review of Israel, put this in perspective. He abused the goodness of God. This is Israel, the people of Israel. His sin followed as a consequence of God's goodness to him. God raised him, and he offended. The alliance with the king of Tyre and Sidon, which brought in the worship of Baal, was a part of the worldly policy of the kings of Israel, as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. He took to wife the daughters of Ethbaal, king of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. The 22 years of Ahab's reign established the worship. The prophet of Baal became 450, and the prophets of the kindred idolatry of Ashtoreth and Astarte became 400. Baal had his one central temple, large and magnificent, a rival of that of God. The prophet Elijah thought the apostasy almost universal. God revealed to him they had reserved for himself 7,000 in Israel, yet these were all the knees which had not bowed to Baal, and every mouth which had not kissed him. So you get the idea, because Israel left God behind, he didn't take that laying down. He was angry with them, and when he described his recourse towards Israel, he described it as a mama bear protecting her injured babies or cubs. The vicious, brutal, barbarous side would come out. These bears, they go out of the way to protect their cubs. Bears take care of their children longer for fear of being hunted. Of course, not all brown bears' interaction with human are positive. According to the study from the journal Nature Commons, the time bears spend with their cubs increases with the presence of humans because they're trying to go out and shoot them. In general, females care for the cubs about a year and a half. However, data shows that the period can extend to 2.5 years, especially in areas where hunting is a threat to their survival. So the idea is this mama bear will watch after her cubs for a good little while and protect them, and you don't want to cross mama bear. Mama bear is vicious. And by the way, it's interesting, the mama bear, while she's taking care of children, won't meet with daddy bear anymore for that amount of time, and daddy bear is kind of frustrated out of that. So sometimes daddy bear will come and try to get the children out the way so he can get back together with mama. Anyway, but you get the idea. Mama bear is vicious, and especially when it comes to her cubs, and will go to war and become especially protective and savage against all oncomers, even the very father of the cubs if need be. So the Syrian bear, mama, becomes agitated and irritated and frustrated at the loss of her cubs and just becomes vicious. All right, so that's the judgment of God upon Israel. That was how God looked at them. Next is jeopardizing mama bear. You may recall Absalom attempting to steal the crown from David. Now, two counselors report to Absalom. There's these two counselors. They had counselors that give them counsel, a cabinet, if you will. One was Ahithophel. Remember Ahithophel? Ahithophel was as if people went to the oracle of God, got information from him. He left David to serve Absalom when Absalom tried to steal the kingdom from David. The next person that became a counselor was Hushai. Hushai was another one of the counselors that was called David's friend. And Hushai wanted to deal with David, but David told him, no, you stay behind and you try to counteract anything Ahithophel says. You be my ears. And you go back there and try to make sure everything's okay. So David is fleeing Jerusalem to avoid a battle with his son. 2 Samuel 17:1 says, Moreover, Ahithophel said unto Absalom, Let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night. And I will come upon him while he was weary and weak-handed, and will make him afraid, and all the people that are with him shall flee. And I will smite the king only, and I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seekest is as if all returned, so all the people shall be in peace. So he said, you just let me get 12,000 men. We'll go out there and we'll take care of it. We'll scare them all. They'll all flee, and we'll kill David. And once he's gone, you'll be left as the king, and everybody will come back to you. So that's what Ahithophel said. That was his recommendation. So Ahithophel wants to go after David in the night, in the darkness, and drive all the protectors away and execute David and bring all the people back to Absalom as the only left king in Israel. But Hushai was there, had some different counsel. Hushai said unto Absalom, this is 2 Samuel 17:7, a little bit further down in the chapter, the counsel that Ahithophel hath given is not good at this time. For said Hushai, thou knowest thy father and his men, that they be mighty men, and they be chafed in their minds as a bear robbed of her whelps in the field. You know what they're going to be like? They're going to be like that mama bear. We're going to go after them. They're going to become vicious. And they're going to defeat the entire army. No matter who we send. You know how your dad is. You know how them guys are. They'll become vicious just like a mama bear is left of her whelps. Well, Hushai won the day, and Absalom decided to go with Hushai's advice. By the way, Ahithophel, he did not take that very well. A little bit further down the chapter, verse 23, and when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and rose and gat him home to his house, to his city, put his household in order, and hanged himself and died, and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. The poor guy got his feelings hurt because somebody wouldn't do what he wanted them to do. But you do get the idea. When Hushai gave the advice, he said, you know how David is and his men? I mean, they're vicious guys. I mean, they're treacherous. And the description he gave them is they're going to be just like that mama bear that's vicious and will go after everybody and defeat everybody. I mean, they'll go full bore. So we don't need to be messing with them at this time, what Hushai said. But you get the idea. Jeopardizing mama bear, that's the idea that he gave. And then lastly, the journal of the fool. Again, a familiar phrase, a statement, a comparison is used by Solomon when speaking of a fool. Proverbs 17:12 says, let a bear robbed of her whelps meet a man rather than a fool in his folly. Now think about that. You know, he has a lot of these contrasting statements, and here he contrasts on one side. He said it'd be better for you to meet a bear. It'd be better for you to meet mama bear than a fool in his folly. That's quite a statement. I mean, two sides of the coin, that's quite a statement. It's quite differently. It must really be bad. It must be tragic, a fearful thing, something to be avoided at all costs to meet a fool in his folly when he compares it against one of these mama bears. Well, the question comes, what's a fool? Well, Psalm 14:1 says it this way, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. So the fool says there's no God. And by the way, the there is in that, if you look at your King James Bible, you'll see that there is in italics. That means the translators, they supplied that to kind of make sense of the verse. It says the fool has said in his heart, we leave out their words, no God. So what they're saying, they're either saying there is no God, or they're just flat out saying no to God. Either way, that's what God calls a fool. Romans 1:20 puts it this way, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they're without excuse. Just look around. We can tell God's there. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Here's an interesting thing about that verse. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. The word wise comes from the word sophos, we get kind of sophisticated from. The word for fool, you know what the word we get for that is? Moron. We get the word moron. So it went from sophisticated, refined, and cultured to being a moron, to being an idiot, to be a fool. So a fool that's in his folly, whatever that is, you need to avoid them at all costs, because it's worse than meeting that than it is a mama bear. The folly would be rejecting the person of God, rejecting the program of God, rejecting the promise of God, and rejecting God himself. Anybody that does that, that's a fool. That's what God calls a fool. We need to reject them and stay away from them. Over the last several years, we've had people leave this church for things like flat earthing. And they go to seed on this flat earth stuff and leave God entirely out of it and leave that. We've had people leave for Mormonism. We've had people leave for YouTube fanatics. I mean, stuff that's, I preached a message, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months ago about leaving the YouTube preachers alone. You get plenty of preaching from this pulpit here. Brother Nicholas is a good Bible teacher. You want to get something from the Bible, get it from him. Don't get it from all the other. You never know what you're getting into. And we've lost people for that. You know why? Because they're following, and I say this as kindly as I can, fools. And became fools themselves. So that's what I came to say today. The types, the brown, the black and the brown bear, the polar bear, the panda bear, the Syrian bear. Every time you see a bear, the animal bear in the Bible, it's a Syrian bear. The terrors, vicious, the judgment of God upon Israel, jeopardizing mama bear, and the journal of the fool. So we'll continue looking at bears the next time, but stay away from fools. Because God says it's better to meet the mama bear who lost her whelps or her cubs than it is to meet this fool. It's more dangerous. That's saying something. So stay away from the fools, and you won't become a fool yourself by following them. All right, so we'll pray and we'll be dismissed. Thank you so much for coming. Father, I ask you to bless what's been said. Help us to put these things into practice in our lives. We're thankful for these types of animals that you've provided and the lessons that we can learn from them. Help us to learn them. Bless the folks here. We love them. Take care of them.